Power grid has collapsed.
Currency is worthless.
Movie starts off with a virtual HelloFresh list of vague apocalypse ingredients. I gotta tell you guys, I am a nightmare when it comes to recognizing the origins of apocalypses, but Furiosa makes the directions simple, and I can tell what an apocalypse is in minutes. The music playing here is reminiscent of an electric whale blowing a trompuba as it fully throttles into the Dune soundtrack. May all of our eardrums survive this. Does it qualify as a Mad Max saga if Mad Max isn't in the movie? Why has everything gotta be about him?
As the world falls around us, how must we brave its cruelties?
Oh, shit. I guess he didn't figure it out. What is the first thing they teach you at a monastery? Whoa, that dude was so stealthy you couldn't even see him behind Furiosa before that cut. And he somehow moved fast through these leaves without making a sound.
Hear that?
There's this neat cut between the whistling and the sharpening here that's pretty awesome, but then it's ruined by these people somehow hearing a distant whistle over all that noise. You can tell this cult are the good guys because they're in soft linens and don't die, even though they run with drawn blades.
Furiosa! They took Furiosa!
Why doesn't Mary ask one of the people who were running with them a second ago for a rifle before they chase after these guys? Also, I understand that chasing after people on motorcycles on foot would be worthless, but where the f did those people go? Are you telling me the utopia in which they live only has one community horse? Okay, so Mary's gonna snipe this dude, which is awesome. The other two guys stop, take stuff from the dead guy's bike, and one of them gets out his binoculars to see what they're up against. It takes a full 20 seconds or so before he sees Mary in the distance. So now my question is, how much range does this f***ing rifle have? This guy just died and should be floppy. Why are his legs stuck in the same shape as a Ken doll on a bad run-in with Sid? This is supposedly when Furiosa, with her hands completely bound, somehow takes this guy's knife so that she can cut through the ropes. But lifting that knife out of a sheath with your hands bound would be kind of hard, right? Like borderline impossible? Can't figure out why this isn't a good enough shot when we've seen her kill a man from 10 miles away, but she wastes just enough time for the decision to prevent her from getting Furiosa back.
My lips. Dementus is here.
This new adult film version of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban has taken huge liberties with the original text. I always thought it was the Dementors who did the lip stuff.
The original JRL Cycle's Lucky 7 was powered by a 7-cylinder radial aircraft engine with a swept capacity of 2,800 cc's.
Religion. Jesus Christ, this prosthetic is even larger than the one Chris Hemsworth wore in his underwear in Vacation.
Let's see from Toe Jam.
Fine, but only if you bring along Earl and we hop off the edge of the world and fall down to the healing hot tub.
Saga!
Movie cuts out the scene where Mary prayed to the gods and did a sand dance to get this convenient sandstorm to head her way so that she can ride into this village undercover and undetected, not to mention cover her tracks when she leaves later. At first you're thinking that must be Furiosa's mom trying to get in the tent and save her, but then whoever that is gets killed by Mary. So now I'm wondering who the f that was trying to get in the tent through this flap and why.
I'm a mother too.
Decency. On the one hand, the end of the world has given basically everyone radiation poisoning. On the other, they can keep their eyes open during a sandstorm with no real issue. And honestly, that's a huge evolutionary plus. Oh, I guess we don't need to worry about that then. The explosion does no harm to the bike whatsoever, and the fire will be a mild inconvenience. That's pretty neat. Also, I guess there's just no need to get on your motorcycles and chase after her or anything. Sure, if you have dogs that can track her, why not leave it up to them to find her? Dogs never lose the scent or make mistakes.
You are Valvolini. You will do as I ask.
Is this the Italian name for a woman's external private parts? If the movie really wanted her to, Mary could take one of these guys' motorcycles and ride out of here. She could lead them on an epic wild goose chase that would allow Furiosa to get away, and then there'd be no movie. In fact, there might not even be a Fury Road. Now imagine a scenario where they film something that completely erases another film and let's just imagine Blockbuster is still a thing, and there's all these Fury Road copies on the shelves because even in 2024, the Blockbuster just has millions of copies of a 2015 film sitting in the new releases section. Then they disappear like Marty's family in the photograph in Back to the Future. I would lose one of my best theater experiences of all time, but think about it, guys. A movie would disappear. Mary gets caught by Dementus' gang, Furiosa starts running, and then somehow runs long enough for the entire gang to erect a crucifix and set up a cinematic entrance for her.
Tell me where you came from and we will cease and desist.
So they end up killing Furiosa's mom and don't even think about maybe, perhaps, putting Furiosa in danger to see if mom will try and protect her daughter? Oh, I guess you don't want to be seen as monsters. Holy shit. Well, never mind. Anyway, are you just going to give up on this? If you take her back to the village right now, there's a woman who will tell you that Mary definitely has a weakness when it comes to children.
Lizard mince and human blood sausage.
This guy's been hanging around Captain America too long. I bet he knows what baby tastes like.
Red.
Wow, luckily they had someone facing the other way to see this, huh?
And veggies and water.
Today's f***ed-up search based on a movie is how long can someone carry on with a bolt in his head? We're going to see a lot of unique machines in this film. We're not going to see how they actually work. How is he making his chariot cycle stop? Show me the brakes! And yes, I know these exist in real life. I'm sorry, I'm shouting.
I want those who hold dominance over you.
The fact that Dementus came in here thinking Immortan Joe would quake at the sight of him is hilarious, but don't show me that he's intelligent in part 1 of the movie and then just forget all that just because you need him to be dumb for the plot. I mean, this guy doesn't even scope the place out before just barging in and making demands.
They exploit you, they enslave you, they wash their feet in your sweat and blood.
Good God, Chris Hemsworth's fake Australian accent is worse than Robert Downey Jr.'s in Natural Born Killers. He should have gotten someone from Australia for this role. No, look, I have a really good ear with these things. Like, Ewan McGregor would have been a great choice, and he could have done that thing he did in Trainspotting.
The Immortan has a request.
Okay, let's get to that in a second. Let's first ask ourselves why we need gas masks for the dangle-dingle bits.
Any one of them, if chosen, would have done the same.
Right, but only along very specific zip lines that just so happen to run above the enemy that has clustered beneath it. So...
I am Scrotus!
I'm going to start calling the current Supreme Court of the United States this from now on.
I am Rectus!
It's a real shame that their middle brother, Taintus, was cut from the movie. He really connects the trio.
And now, we're going to kill you!
Why did they need to introduce themselves before starting the battle? And even if Scrotus needed to, I really don't think Rictus did. This warboy approaches the motorcycle with the cage hitched to it, and I have no idea what the rider is trying to do here. He doesn't appear to be trying to get away, and he's definitely not trying to fight. He's just turning his head back and forth as if he's powerless to do much of anything. This f***ing amazeballs, this f***ing amazeballs. An action scene shot at a distance all in one take. Hook it up to my veins. So wait, there's just a bunch of white clay on the ground that they can use to paint people to look like warboys? What the f*** is this shit? Did this get washed off the warboys that just killed? Well then, what the f*** are the other binoculars for? If you wanted to know what the life of the guy who runs Gastown is like, well, here you are. He paints beautiful reproductions of art on his walls. I'm glad we could get that insight while we wait for him to answer the phone.
What did he say? He wants us to make it real!
I could send this at pretty much any time in this movie, but here's as good as any. No one should hear anything anyone is saying at any point while bikes are revving at full speed out in a wasteland.
What are you doing?
The movie established that everyone can hear each other over all this racket, so I don't understand why the Octoboss didn't hear the discussion about making it real. How is he surprised by this? For this Trojan horse thing to work, there would have to be absolutely no one watching the truck after it gets behind the gate. And amazingly, that's exactly what happens.
Open the gates.
Every resource is guarded by insane people who trust no one, but Gastown is the exception. Gastown, a town full of the fuel everyone needs. No snipers to jump into place at a moment's notice. No kamikaze spear bombers. Just one guy willing to open the gate at the first sign of a gun. I don't exactly understand what a Morgan and Joe has going on here mechanically, but I really hope the bee pollen distribution is working out for him.
And the six-figure code exists only in the brain of Dementus.
Oh yeah? Well, what did Smeg just enter then? It was important enough he had to hide it when he punched it in. Look, you're just not gonna know how any of the shit in this scene works. You don't know if the threat to blow up Gastown is a bluff or not, and we still haven't even gotten to the S&M apparatus that Dementus uses to threaten the Guardian of Gastown yet. But most of all, you'll be wondering why Dementus brought Furiosa to this negotiation, other than paving the way for the movie's Fury Road. Quick question before we move on. Joe just said...
Body search, no weapons.
So how is the Looney Tunes gang allowed to come in like this? Are we to believe Dementus cocked the weapon before coming near the Citadel and hasn't accidentally killed Gastown's leader already? No one has that arm strength, not even Thor.
Can't hold this much longer!
This thing pulls off his nipples and it rips his septum, which appears not to be bleeding whatsoever and will never be mentioned again.
I will increase your shipment of water, but only by a third.
So wait a minute, was there some sort of existing deal that we didn't know about between these two? Just before Dementus attacked Gastown, he tried to attack the Citadel, and it was the first time he had ever heard of it, or Immortan Joe. Sure, time has passed, but not that much time, since Furiosa is still being played by the same actor.
Deal.
And then Dementus accepts the lowball deal. I guess because he's desperate, but why doesn't he have more leverage here? Did they forget about trying to blow up Gastown? And if that was a bluff, and Joe was calling it, how does Dementus have any leverage? Weird. I thought Furiosa started drawing a map of the stars on her left arm way back when Dementus put her in a cage. That drawing isn't here in this shot, but it does show up a few minutes later. Here, Spidey sense is going off that she needs to make a tearaway wig. And wouldn't you know it, her new Nook has a doily, a candle, and a razor. I believe Furiosa is really clever and able to MacGyver her way through just about anything, but would a doily make it all the way to the Citadel and the Wives space in this very Nook? Nah, I need to see her manic knit a doily to justify this loot drop. I'm very happy that Furiosa is successfully hiding from this dude, but how the f did she know she could do this? Like, there's a chain here, and I assume one is on the other side. That would be very hard to see from the bridge, and it looks like the pipe she's clinging to is so big it nearly made this impossible. Anyway, there's probably a reason they didn't show how she did this. Oh, cool. Awesome time lapse. This will prevent us from asking questions about how Furiosa climbs back up to the bridge and somehow manages to get accepted into a work crew here at the Citadel. Some brand new worker who comes out of nowhere probably would raise eyebrows, but nah, her short hair and dirty AI face were all she needed for the subterfuge to work. Also, Furiosa is such a unique looking girl that you'd think once people heard news of her escape, followed by a brand new person joining a work crew the next day, would allow people to do the math. I know the people here are supposed to be kind of stupid, but they aren't that stupid, are they? I want to know the story of the girder that somehow got a bunch of skulls melted into it, but mainly how the skulls melted into this specific spot, while the rest of it stayed skull-free.
You're the new dogman.
And your new title just happens to come with gloves so large they'll cover your forearms. Identifiable mark problems are solved. Jesus, this movie went a whole hour completely joyless. So she's made it into adulthood without being found out. That's pretty cool. Although I do wonder how privacy works in the Citadel and how she was able to Mulan her way through this without getting caught.
Speak his name.
You don't speak. He's mute.
Apparently, this is the first time Rictus has ever run into Guy Furiosa in the last 5 years or so.
Scrawny.
Yes, but why is she scrawny? You'd think years of chain-lifting bulldozers would put some muscle on her, but apparently not. The movie has been lingering in scenes often enough to fake me out and make me believe I'm actually about to watch a motorcade's entire approach from 10 miles away in real time. The war boys in the car finally decide to do something, despite having seen the need for action 30 seconds ago. Why the f does Furiosa pull down her mask here? Is it so we know it's her? Because that's not a good reason. This is yet another great George Miller action set piece that just sucks you in and you forget all about setting things for a while because sometimes life is too short. Oh, don't worry, I'll get mad to the max again later, but for now, I think I'll relax. Are the war boys trained for things like this? Do they look at a triple stick of dynamite, clock the wick, test the speed of the wind, and know how to precisely throw it behind them as they dive backwards onto an oncoming vehicle with timing so precise it launches the car perfectly onto additional enemies? No, none of this was planned. This is chaos. Anyone leaving this scene with the idea that anyone knows anything going on is a liar. Or more succinctly, this works. Also, why did he have to jump at all? Just chuck the dynamite and save your witness for later. Gasp! She was a girl the whole time. A girl that was hiding with the boys, but instead of cutting her hair to really blend in, she let it grow out so that her reveal is all the more dramatic. Remember at the end of Grease when the car sort of flies off into the distance? I think the same magic is making this guy's fan thing lift his motorcycle off the ground. Oh hey, it's the Octoboss! You remember the Octoboss, right? From 30 minutes ago? He was the guy who got mad at Dementus for shooting his men to make the fake attack on the war rig look real. Yeah, that's cool, right? He's back! I kind of thought his character would make a bigger impact on the story, but I guess he just dies. Oh, it's okay, Furiosa. You can probably check to see if there are any vehicles that are still in working order behind you and maybe go home on one of them. In fact, the very motorcycle that you smuggled on board the war rig for that very purpose simply fell off the truck and didn't get run over or blown up. Even if that specific transportation didn't work, you have a mechanic's dreamscape left all over the Fury Road to inspect and Frankenstein a vehicle to get out of here. You might have to walk a mile or two to get back there, but I imagine it's worth it, right?
If you're running away from the Citadel, believe me, the bullet farm is a whole lot worse. The only other place is Gastown, and that's it. There is nowhere else.
I'm glad she's still tight-lipped about the green place and all, but can't she just say, cool man, whatever, peace, and just walk back to get a motorcycle and avoid all those other places? Also, why couldn't this asshole just back up the rig instead of getting out and walking like an asshole? Asshole? Also, it's really an odd choice to leave the entire rig completely defenseless while you chat it up with her, right? I mean, we just spent over 13 minutes on that attack to then abandon the goods because they think the attack is somehow over? So how did Jack explain to Immortan Joe that he has a woman on his crew now? And why isn't Joe making her an instant wife like we know he would? She's definitely not hiding her identity anymore. Why not give this guy an entire bullet suit and then have some of his teeth be bullets? Oh wait, is that too weird?
You're done here.
Oh shit, that was easy. Literally 3 minutes have passed since Jack told her she needed to learn some shit to go wherever she was going, and after one trip to Bullet Town, she's ready. I thought we were gonna see her climb a mountain and learn from a blind master or something, but I guess this works too. I mean, she just sleeps out of the goddamn open with a bunch of dudes. How the hell is this the thing? And so then this happens. And it's not important.
Are you in charge here?
You can speak to me.
Wait, so was Dementus only seeing this from our perspective? Did he miss Jack right in front of him? As we see Gastown riot over the scarce resources under Dementus' thumb, this man's complicated rise to power has suddenly become more interesting to me than Furiosa's simple girl wants revenge and then go home path. I guess you can't really depict a city or village being run by a terrible dictator without having some bodies hanging outside. I'm gonna go hang your bodies outside as a reminder not to f with me. But also, I'm hanging them there because it is cinematic language that I've completely lost my nipples. Marbles. Marbles.
You give him a full tank of water and 2,000 tits of mother's milk.
What is the measurement of a tit? Tits come in all shapes and sizes. We need to know specifics. If a tit is, say, an ounce, then maybe I could believe there are women consuming enough calories to produce 2,000 of those tit types. But what if a tit is more like a gallon? That is a big tit of milk, and I refuse to believe there are enough lactating women to produce that much tit.
Father, give me the war rig, loaded up with all of the firepower you have got, and I will blow him from the face of the earth.
Oh man, I was hoping he wouldn't say anything past him.
My mother and father.
Skip rejecting someone's seed. Movie shockingly steals a scene from Eurotrip. Also, this means Dementus got here first and took over all of Bullet Town. But f***ing how? Did they just open the gate for him? I thought they hated him here. And Bullet Town's got tons of weapons, and later we find out an infantry. The movie keeps oscillating between Dementus is incompetent and Dementus is a goddamn genius. Anyway, I'm beginning to suspect there's a reason why we didn't see any of this, aside from the movie wanting to surprise the protagonist and the audience. Movie's editing saves Furiosa's hair before it burns down to the scalp. When the blood gets on our screen, it's designed to put us right in the action. Except that means that suddenly there's a cameraman in their world filming this stuff. Furiosa survives this. This motorcycle is getting weighed down by Jack and getting pulled into the hole and has a grappling hook scraping along the rocks below. Yet somehow it finds traction on the precipice of the cliff and is able to pull him and Furiosa to safety.
We're good.
For someone who barely speaks this entire movie, Furiosa now says the absolute dumbest thing anyone could possibly say that will absolutely ensure their demise. Also, they have a full 2-minute head start on Dementus, and yet he will somehow catch up to them. I guess it's because he has a huge truck with 6 wheels that must have some sort of f*** engine in it. But Furiosa and Jack's car is a V8. It's not like they're driving slow. This would be a great time for Jack to shoot at Dementus again. But he doesn't, because suddenly his survival instinct has been taken over by the need for a more tragic backstory for the plot of an entirely different movie. As Dementus' truck hammers the kill shot on Furiosa and Jack's car, let's take note of the bike with the horns that flies into the air and crashes to the ground, because, let me tell you, the movie has been very confusing about this. When Furiosa gets in the V8, neither bike has horns on it. It stays that way until they get to Bullet Town, and the bike on the passenger side suddenly has horns. During the escape from Bullet Town, that bike has a sign on it that might as well say, "Put horns here when you're not busy." When Dementus catches up to them, the bike with horns suddenly is on the driver's side, and finally the horns jump to the white bike, which never had horns before, and switches to the passenger side. Hostage make-outing. Hostage out-making. Not including me. Scene does not contain something or other. Crocodile Dundee 3. Okay, fine, I'm stumped. Y'all, who's serious? F***. There is absolutely no reason why Dementus' gang is circling the whole area and kicking up dust except to give Furiosa cover for when she makes her escape. It's very cinematically pleasing, but why waste a scarce resource like fuel on this circle?
Enough!
Hey, that's what I was thinking. And so Furiosa made a daring escape at some point during all of this. And you can look at how she did it in a couple ways. Either the sympathetic Mr. Harley here cut her arm off, or he gave her the machete that allowed her to cut her own arm off. We'll get to her impossible escape later, but I want to know how they somehow knew exactly what direction she went and are not too far behind, even though she had a huge head start. My guess is that since the horns got knocked off one of the bikes, she must have wasted a bunch of time looking for those before she took off. Also, as promised, let's talk about the escape, which despite all the dirt flying around everywhere and making visibility tough, is some kind of miracle. At first, I thought she must have taken the bike that was next to the truck and somehow blended in with the other riders. But that bike is white, and the bike she's on is black. And it was the original bike that had the ram's horns on it. But if she didn't take the bike that was closest to her, that means she ran past the circling riders who apparently decided not to, look anywhere when she ran past them. Deus Max Furiosa.
He's taking the bullet farm.
You're lying.
How the f*** does the bullet farmer not know that Dementus took over the bullet farm? Joe asked him for every bullet and firearm, every caliber and size, and he wanted his infantry. The bullet farmer simply went to the watchtower to signal them so he didn't have to go all the way back. But doesn't someone signal him, or at least the Citadel, when Dementus starts attacking the place? Also, I'm assuming they are in the watchtower as we speak, since this place has a multi-telescope arrangement. Did they not see smoke coming from Bullet Town? Or the flare Jack shot in the air? If we're merely using signaling as our form of communication, I'm assuming they could see this, right? Maybe they didn't know Dementus took the town, but they knew something happened.
There always was, is, and will be war. The Sumerian fought the Elamite.
This upcoming war will require the roll call of a whole bunch of other wars before it gets to warring. Jesus, Furiosa just ordered this off Amazon and got it almost immediately.
The 40-day wasteland war.
Wait, there's a fucking war going on and we're only going to see a montage? Fine, at the hands of the director, this movie may have stretched on for 6 hours, but give me something here. I need to know that the puppies survived. This war starts and ends in the time it takes for History Man to narrate through the war history. 40 days? More like 40 seconds. After making a bionic arm from scraps on this one random day, Furiosa awoke, chopped her hair, put on her battle gear, and demanded a vehicle, which she rode into a barricade where she finds Joe's 2 squabbling sons. Her car happens to have the right tire, so all her gears move to his car. The organic mechanic randomly brings by some food, which distracts them just long enough for Furiosa to get in the car and take off after Dementus, who just so happens to be escaping nearby. We have spent hours watching shot after shot of badass vehicles riding around, but the movie can't spend any time explaining the convergence of all the conveniences lining all the way up. Okay, snack and bio break are over. Where are we? Once again, we have someone well behind shooting an impossible distance with deadly accuracy. And this time, the shooter is driving a car with more awkward shooting angles and not a motorcycle like before. But it takes 25 seconds for Dementus to stop, turn around, and get to the top of a dune to look through his telescope before he finally sees Furiosa driving in the far distance, meaning she was so far away that not even God could see him from her vantage point. Say what you want about going to war for 45 days, but don't forget that it will heal your nipples. Even though he constantly steals scenes throughout this movie, this idiot has survived the past 45 days of war. This woman is not impaled on the perfectly placed spikes.
I won't even hear the sound of the gun.
I'll hear it. I'll hear it for the rest of my days.
I know this is a big moment, but for f***'s sake, get on with it. It's amazing how Furiosa has great dental hygiene despite eating the same shit as everyone else. You might see this device and think, yeah, let's see Dementus's guts, because we're animals and thirsty for blood after all this madness. But nope, she wants a goddamn teddy bear. Somehow the magical symbolism bear has a busted leg like him and a new arm like her.
There are those who prefer that she did more than shoot him.
Not me, man. We're well past the 2-hour mark, and I've wanted her to just shoot him for the last 10 minutes. The history man tells us this is the proper ending to the tale. Furiosa filled the lover's watering hole with soil, planted her peach seed with a voiceless Dementus, and visited him so he stayed alive long enough for the tree to grow into his body and produce a peach. Seems like time well spent, you know, rather than getting back to where she wanted to go this entire goddamn movie. Oh well, I'm sure when she gets there someday, nothing terrible would have happened that she could have helped to prevent had she just gone the f*** home.
Its soil is human.
It's soiled green! So is the symbolism here that he has a Woody? I'm missing something.
It was an echo growing out of a living being.
That's a tree, a peach tree. Sometimes movies will spend the end credits showing reference art for their film, like a scrapbook of textures and color palettes mixed with rough sketches of ideas. Furiosa is like, yeah, that. Let me show you the unreleased footage that seamlessly reminds everyone what a badass job we just did at recreating an entire universe down to every detail. And honestly, movie, goddamn, you really didn't need to destroy everyone like that. Can we please stop Mad Maxing now?
I suggest the groin. Traditionally, yes. The groin is the weakest spot.
Stay alive, no matter what occurs. I will find you.
There are 20 of you, but only 5 bikes. How do we choose?
So which of you fine gentlemen would like to join our team? We're gonna have tryouts.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
And may the best woman win.
Wait, you forgot your bear, a symbol of your lost youth and innocence.
I'm Bill. This is Ted. We're from the future. Socrates. Now what? I don't know. Philosophize with him. All we are is dust in the wind, dude.
He wants us to make it real.
Madden is on the field. He wants to know if it's real. They said yes. Get your big butt out of here. He does.
Well, I'm driving off thinking I ought to start with you.
You choose me?
Is that what I think it is?
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
Want to see what this can do? Hit the second engine.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart.
This is my town! If you live to see the dawn, it's because I allow it!
The white wizard approaches. Do not let him speak. He will put a spell on us.
You idiot.
There will be a king. I will be king.